Police in France say 14 people are under arrest after a possible syringe attack at a series of music festivals across France. 145 people report being pricked, including some girls as young as 14. I want to bring in foreign correspondent Tom Sufi-Burridge for more. Tom, what's the latest here?
Shalom. First of all, I start off by giving all glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahushai Ba'Shem, Rakakdash. Double honor to teachers, elders, and apostles of great millstone, likewise, brothers, put know this truth. Faithfully fearlessly feeding the sheep and two brothers and sisters. And again, Shalom. Today's lesson is titled, In the Midst of Folly, a Sinister Acts. Now, I'm going to show you a video clip today, and it's disturbing, but you will see that, you know, in the current state of the way things are going right now, you can see where this type of behavior, whether it's promoted by, you know, people in high places or just individuals looking to bring terror upon people, that this is something of great concern, especially with the up-and-coming holidays. Before we go into this short clip here, let's go into the book of Matthew 24:12, and it reads, "And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold." So we're in a time of where evil is abounding on this earth. You have a sinister government, you know, in place here in Great Babylon, America, that has influenced the other nations. Okay, you know, and we see the results of that is going to accumulate into a global war. But amongst the people, we see that the love of many has waxed so cold to the point to where they think nothing of destroying each other. Check this video out.
Yeah, Dan, so I think this is a very troubling phenomenon. What we don't know is anything really about the malign actors who were behind this. It appears to have been inspired or encouraged on social media. So it looks like there were social media posts before this annual nationwide music festival event. So effectively, Fête de la Musique, there are music festivals in towns and cities right across France. And prior to the event, there were posts, we think, on social media encouraging people or telling people to prick people attending that event. Now, we don't know anything about the malign actors behind this. Police are investigating, and they say that during those series of music festivals right across France on Saturday, 145 people were either pricked or believed they were pricked. So, you know, because of these social media posts, people picked up on these and then warned other social media users that this was being encouraged. So you had a climate of fear or concern prior to the event itself. And police are saying that they have arrested so far 14 people in connection with these attacks.
Tom, victims reported feeling hot flushes, dizziness, loss of consciousness, and visible marks or bruises on their skin. So are police saying what they think was in those syringes?
They haven't yet, and at the moment I don't think there's any indication whether or not any of the victims were actually injected with any type of substance. I mean, look, we know from one of the mayors of a city where there were 17 young victims, 17 young female victims, that the victims were as young as 14, aged through to 20. One particularly concerning thing I think that mayor said for me was that some of the victims were actually attacked in the presence of their parents. And we know that from police that most of the attackers were either pricked in their arm or in their back. They had various symptoms as you've laid out. And most of those people either were treated at the scene by first responders or then reported to hospital to give urine, saliva or blood samples to try and work out whether they were pricked or not. But I think, you know, this phenomenon, it doesn't appear, I think, that physically many of the victims were badly hurt or damaged in this attack. That seems to be the indication at this stage. But what this attack, inspired by just a few messages, we think, on social media, has done is sow panic. So I think, like, French authorities right now are urging calm. They're saying we shouldn't panic, but people in future events should be vigilant and look out for this type of attack, seek medical advice, report it to the police as soon as they see it.
And Tom, any sense of a motive here? Why do this?
I don't think we have any motive at all. And I think that is, you know, this attack is symptomatic of the digital age, right? Social media. People or actors, malign actors, can go on social media now and encourage this type of attack. Now, there is nothing to suggest who is behind this attack, but we know that malign actors have been working to destabilize European countries in the past. No indication at the moment who could have been behind this, but I think it is deeply worrying for the authorities in this kind of digital social media age that we live in.
All right, foreign correspondent Tom Soufi-Burridge, thank you.
Now, as you saw, okay, you have people that are going, you know, to these events, and you have 4th of July weekend coming up this weekend, you know, and even though people are having a hard time making ends meet, they're still going to splurge on fireworks, and the barbecue is going to be burning. And, you know, many of our people who have heard not to eat the abomination, such as barbecue pig, you know, roasted lobster tail, etc., are going to participate in Esau's annual celebration of his conquest of our people, who are known as the Native Americans here in Great Babylon, America, and their ability to really take down their own version of their persecutor, who were the British, and gain their independence. This is 1 Peter 5 and 8. It reads, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil is a roaring lion walking about seeking whom he may devour." Now you have these people going to these events of great folly, celebrating whatever, you know, art, theatrics, whatever the case is like that, you know, and unbeknownst to them, you know, there are sinister actors that are injecting them with whatever it is in those hypodermic needle. And we know, much like the mosquitoes, which basically has its own natural hypodermic needle, you know, in the form of piercing your skin, you know, you would scratch the area, and, you know, it carries a whole slew of illness, okay, you know, fever, dengue fever, malaria. You know, you have these people that are going around, and maybe it could be a disgruntled employees from the CDC. It could be a whole set of people that Esau set up to go out there amongst, especially Jakes. I mean, look what's going on right now, okay? Let's go into the book of 2nd Ezra, 15 and 19. "A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of lack of bread and for great tribulation." You have, okay, when you take a look at that, okay, which, when you look at 1 Peter 5 and 8, with the devil roaring, walking about or seeking whom he may destroy, you know, people who are unaware, people who are not listening to the warning that's coming from the prophets. And you see in this big, beautiful bill that Trump is going to be passing, okay, real soon, which is going to really throw this place into chaos, okay, especially people who rely on this system, you know, for health care. Because you take a look at it, man, almost everybody's obese. You know, they don't take care of themselves because Esau has a pill to cure everything, you know, according to his commercial. But this man is about to bring people here in Great Babylon, America, to a great rude awakening. He is that cruel Lord. And this is going to create that havoc where people are going to use any means necessary to eat, to try to continuously seek that comfort here in Great Babylon, America, including your neighbor, who right now, they're watching you, but it's going to go to the next level of watching you, okay, to see how well prepared you are for the time that's coming ahead, okay? Because while everybody's in, you know, this jollity and celebrating and all that stuff, and just assume that luck is going to continuously be with them, okay, you have others out there that are seeing something a little different, and they're trying to prepare themselves. And I'm not talking about the spiritual men and women, okay, I'm talking about just the people in general out there. But they are going to become the victims of these people that are going to suddenly find themselves in a situation where there's no help, and the only help that they're going to get or have is going to be self-help, which is going to be taking up that sword. And, you know, something like this, injecting people can use that as a means to take you out. You know, you imagine you're in a crowd, you know, a concert or a fair, any place, someone can stick next to you, and especially if you're intoxicated, you wouldn't know. Okay, this is Ecclesiastes 7 and starting verse 2. It reads, "It is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting, for that it is the end of all men, and the living will lay it to his heart." Now we ain't in that time right now, you know, as the man of the Lord, where we're in this jolly spirit. I mean, we seeing it right now. Okay, you have the MOTB right around the corner. This man's gonna pass a big beautiful bill. We know what that's gonna, you know, lead up to. We seeing the conflict that's taking place out there in the Middle East. This man is now grabbing Jake's up, and you have a choice. Okay, you either jump or you get dumped in the ocean. Okay, these death flights. You know, he has these the Everglade, or what they call the Gator Alcatraz. Not to mention the thousands of installation all across this country. Because remember, they were closing out these Walmarts and these Costco's and these big malls, and you know, making them into internment camp because they know or expect there to be a great rebellion against the powers to be. Let's go to Ezekiel 14, verse 19 reads, because when you think about what's going on, remember, everything is controlled by the Lord Yahweh Shai. Okay, and he's the one that sends the pestilence, the sword, the famine, okay, all these things, and he's done this many times. Okay, and we can see in the past here, what does he say about being able to withstand all of these? It says, this is Ezekiel 14 and verse 19. It says, "Or it I send a pestilence into that land and pour out my fury upon it in blood, to cut off from it man and beast. Though Noah, Daniel, and Job were in it, as I live, said the Lord power, they shall deliver neither son nor daughter, they shall but deliver their own souls by their righteousness." Okay, "For thus said the Lord power, how much more when I send my four sword judgments upon Jerusalem, the sword and the famine and the noisome beast and the pestilence, to cut off from it man and beast." When you look at that word pestilence, it means pestilence generally refers to a highly contagious, violent, and devastating epidemic disease. Who's to say that Esau's in, you know, that case in France doesn't come over here? It says it can also refer to something considered harmful, destructive, or evil. In some contexts, it's specifically associated with the Black Death or bubonic plague. Okay, you know, I mean, they go on with that, but we can see here, people are that wicked right now that they're doing these things, and you know, it could be something that's raised by these elites. Okay, let's go to the book of Philippians. Okay, because the one thing that the Lord always let each and every one of us know, and this is how we live, because of course the just will live by faith. Okay, but also it says, "Wherefore, my beloved, as ye have always obeyed, not us in my presence only." So you have to have integrity, continuously doing the work, you know, living in the spirit. You know, you have, there's a lot of things that's distracting you, or things you have to take care of in this world. You just have to, and it's a balance. Okay, but now much more in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. So you see the judgment of the Lord Yahweh is bringing. You know, he creates spiritual vengeance, all these things, and they're coming in all kinds of different ways. So it's not necessarily Esau saying, "Hey, you know what? I want everybody roll up their arms and take this, you know, jump shot." You know, he could very well have agents or people going out there just sticking people randomly and getting you infected with whatever he wants to get you infected with. Okay? And so we have to understand that the Lord Yahweh is the one that controls both good and evil. And as man of the Lord, we have to work out our own salvation. You know, even though he brought these before, he made it very clear that Noah and Daniel and Job, they had to work out their own salvation with fear and trembling. Noah built the ark despite the fact that he had maybe tens of millions of people laughing at him for 120 years. Okay? Job was stripped of everything, tested. Okay? You know what happened in that to Daniel? Okay? So we're going to go and experience these things too, and we're in a time right now where those things are about to it really jump at that level that we may not have experienced before. Definitely have never experienced it before. It's just so much, the scripture talk about the fact that, it's a tribulation on a level that, the angels have to step in on our behalf. Okay, because this man is on a killing spree right now. So I just thought I'd bring this out as an awareness. I saw this on because we have a big holiday coming up, and Jake, be careful. Be careful out there. Lord willing, the lack was edified, to close by giving all glory and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash, Shalom.